realized that, all the ads that I see on social media were shit. Everything I've learned from psychology, nothing was implemented in the social media ads.
Alexander Morad is a Swedish entrepreneur, AI expert, and international speaker.
What has been your biggest challenge now building an agency?
Look at this, I have zero resources, zero experience, zero knowledge. I'm going to a field I know nothing about. I still don't know what an agency does, right?
He is the founder and CEO of Bright Mind Agency.
Small city in Sweden. I didn't even know a single person. I'd had all the setups for failure. Anyone, as long as you have access to like a computer or a phone and internet, that's all you need.
Firstly, I want to know, how much have you spent on this trip? Welcome back to the More Than Logic podcast, where we connect you with entrepreneurs of all different levels. This is the first episode I'm shooting in 2025. I'm very excited. We're going with a bang. We've got someone who is not from Namibia, all the way from Sweden, talking about AI, talking about marketing, worked with some of the biggest brands in the industries. I would give him the opportunity to introduce himself right now. I'll just have a quick shout out to Pro Hire for always supporting us with high quality and affordable podcasting. Without further ado, thank you guys. So, Alex Morad.
Thank you, man.
Welcome to the podcast.
Happy to be
I don't know if I should call you Alex or Alexander.
Whatever you feel like, man. Whatever you feel like. A lot of people call me Alex, or also like Alexander. Like they drop the R here, like Alexander. So
Alexander.
And anything you feel like, go for it, man.
Perfect, man. So it's great to have you here. I'll do a little bit of what I know about you already now.
Hit me.
I know you've got Bright Mind Agency. You've worked on that for 8 years straight. And you're big in tech, AI, that's your thing. One of the biggest public speakers in that industry in Sweden. So that means
In the
that...
world, yeah.
Yeah. So, in the world, yeah.
Try to be humble.
Nice, sir. Nice. And so that means you are quite of a nerd yourself. You're very obsessed with what you're doing, which is great because you need some of that. But I also know that you went through you had a health issue. So, yeah, sometime a little bit earlier, which affected your progress with your agency as well. So there's a lot of stuff we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of bragging so I show you how much research I've done.
You done your research. Did you ask ChatGPT about it? You were like, tell me some about Alexander Morad.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You should have. It should have.
And so now I also know you've recently stepped down as CEO of Bright Mind Agency.
Correct.
And now you're doing this tour in Africa that you funded yourself out of your own pocket, maybe with the help of friends. I don't know.
Mainly like myself, but I'm trying to get some sponsors together as well. It's been hard, but we're getting some. So it's gonna be good.
So perfect. I think now the audience knows they're gonna learn a lot from you. And I'm gonna ask you now, have I done a good introduction or?
I think it's good. Like I always feel introductions are scary, right?
Yeah.
Because either they ask me to introduce myself, and I hate talking about myself in that way.
Yeah.
So I just say like, "Hey, I'm just this guy," right?
Yeah.
Or they, shoot for the moon and introduce me, and then the expectations are just super high. This was good. This was good.
So that's perfect. I think let's get into. I like starting with deep questions.
All right.
You've built an agency over the last 8 years, and but I know you've probably had a life before the agency as well.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. That's a good thing. So what led on to you getting into marketing, getting into AI? Where does it all start?
I mean, it starts with the fact that I hate ads. Yeah. I was like everyone does, right? There was a moment I started to become a psychology teacher first.
You're a psychologist?
Yeah. So 6 years in, I had one test left, and I decided, now I'm dropping out because I'm not a teacher. I don't like all the admin. And everyone was like, "Hey, why don't you just finish it so you have something to lean on, right?" And I was like, if I do that, then I will be a teacher.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. I don't want that security. I just want to, force myself to do something that I'm really passionate about. And then I started thinking a little bit about, what do I like, what do I don't like, and I realized that, all the ads that I see on social media were shit, right? I don't know if we're allowed to say that here, but you get me.
It's fine to say.
So like it was really bad. Like everything was truly bad. And I was thinking like everything I've learned from psychology, nothing was implemented in the social media ads. Because all the traditional agencies, they were just taking the print ads and the TV ads, and they were putting it on Facebook, and they're like, "Oh, it's not working." And I was like, "It's not working because you're doing it wrong," right? It's like you have to have it's a social platform. You have to have the social psychology. You can't start by. I remember telling people that it's like a nightclub, right?
Yeah.
You can't just go to someone and say, "Hey, you wanna come with me home?" The first thing you say, like, but that's what they did. You get an ad and like, "Hey, buy our products." Like, who are you? Like, why are you trying? I'm trying here to be social. I'm with my friends and everything. So we have learned like social codes in real life. So we buy a drink. If they take the drink, we talk a little bit. They laugh at the jokes. We tell them about a cat. We say it's from a tree, and they're like, "Oh, that's cute," and everything. And if everything connects, right, they'll be like, "Hey, this was great. Can I get your number?" Right? And that's basically the funnel I created for social media when I started. And then the timing was just great because social media was up and coming. Not many people in Sweden were doing it that way. So yeah, I have zero marketing experience. Like I have no education in it. I didn't even know what an agency was when I started. I lived in a small city in Sweden. The capital city. I didn't even know a single person there. So I'd had all the setups for failure.
Yeah.
Uh,
All the right ingredients.
all the right ingredients. If I'd by then gone to someone and said like, "Hey, do you believe in me? Look at this. I have zero resources, zero experience, zero knowledge. I'm going to a field I know nothing about. I still don't know what an agency does, right?" To see Adam, and they would be like, "Yeah, we don't believe you, right?" So, but it worked out.
It worked out. Yeah, and now 8 years later, and here we are.
Yeah.
No, that's perfect. What has been your biggest challenge now building an agency, starting from scratch, having zero resources, knowing nothing about it? Because you probably had to go on YouTube almost every single day, Google everything, and
No, I think that's the biggest, like constantly adapting, constantly learning. I think my biggest strength was also my biggest weakness, because the fact that I constantly had to learn new things and adapt to new things and everything, made me also be like very quick in adapting in new things, right? So that was my advantage. But my disadvantage was I spent so much time trying to learn all those things and build all that and whatever. So it's plus and minus.
let's say you've had your fair share of challenges, right? I can imagine at a lot of points you also had a lot of doubts within yourself. Would you say you felt that a lot?
I would say that, yeah.
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 And at what point did you think, you know what, I think I'm onto something here? What was it that changed it for you? Because when you're starting something new, it's usually you're kind of crazy enough to believe in it, but everyone else is like, what the hell are you doing? What do you mean psychology has to come into marketing now and all that kind of stuff? So at what point did you think, you know what, I think I'm onto something, I have to stick it out?
I think I went through a lot of things, a little about the things you mentioned earlier, like, there was kind of like life-changing for me. So I didn't have like a business kind of thing that made me feel like, oh, now I'm doing something good. I'm always very, I think I'm like my biggest critic and my biggest like lover, like biggest fan and biggest critic. I think that's me, because I always like think I could do better, and I could have known better. I could have prepared better. I could have done that, whatever. But I'm also like, damn, I'm really good at that. So I have the both sides of me. But there was no like, I can't remember any specific moment where I felt like, oh, now it's. I think I've always felt that whatever I'm doing, like the psychology part of it and building it, I always felt like this is the right way, and I'm having an impact. Maybe our like first client, like I got our first client, we got our first client. The results was just so good, that they recommended us to like 3 other companies, and then they wanted to invest in our company as well, right? Maybe that was when I felt like other agencies don't do this, right? Because I didn't know what they do, right? Like they don't do that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And at that point, at that stage, it's like you had your first client. Or what did you charge your first client? I want to know actually how much money you made it of your first client.
No, I would say the currencies are different and stuff like that, but I would say maybe like 20% of what someone normally would charge, right? So it was way lower than I was supposed to charging. But for me that time, it felt like 500% more than I should have charged. Right? That's like, because I didn't really know if things was gonna work out properly. But I've always been very transparent. I think that's also one thing that I've never faked and be like, oh, I have 500 clients. I'm like, I've told them, like, you're my first client. I have this idea. I believe in it. I think this is the way of social media marketing. I would love for you to be our pilot client to try it, right?
Yeah.
So it was cool for them as well.
So it was one of those things where like you charge a client maybe let's say $5,000 and they just approve it and you're like, I should have charged more.
No. I've had situations like that later on, right?
Yeah.
Because when I started working like with big companies, because in the beginning you work with small companies and everything like that, local companies and stuff like that, right? And then you get set to like, okay, this is what it costs, and then you do good results, and then you have like a global company reaching out to you. You think it's the same budget, right? But they might have, now it's so hard to talk about currencies because it's so different in like Sweden and Europe and other parts of the world. But like in comparison, maybe like usually you were in a situation where you charge like 3K USD per month for like things to do in social media management and content. And then you reach out, there's a big company, right? And you'll be like, okay, I want a 5K, right? And they'll be like, sure.
And they're like,
They're like, and we get this, that. Like, yeah. And they're like, and I can also add that, And they're like, okay, yeah, sure. And I was like, oh, I'm really good at sales, right? I told him, and I told a friend of mine who worked for an agency, and I said, I'm doing all this for that company. It was like, bro, you could have charged maybe like 10K or something. You could have charged way more per month because they used to paying way more. I was like, that's why. That's why.
It's crazy because I had the same experience yesterday.
Yeah.
It's a guy working with a fund or something, and he wanted to do like some headshots for their company and other stuff. I sent him a code, and I'm like, this is pretty expensive. Literally, it didn't take like more than 3 minutes for him to respond, and he's like, oh, okay, cool. I already told the finance lady she must send full payment, and I only asked for a 50% discount. And I'm like, okay, this is nice. So I think also what I realized also when working with clients like that, it also changes your mindset a little bit on like, I think we spoke about this thing about quality. This was more now with your team, but also the same thing when it comes to clients, working with clients. I've noticed that the more a client spends with you, the less hassle they actually give you. It's like the less problematic they're going to be for you, and which I completely understand. When someone is starting out, they're new, maybe it's a small business, small restaurant, they want to make the most out of the little they have. But then you find that someone that you're charging like 10K a month, 15K a month, or whatever, they'll just tell you, oh yeah, just do this for me. As long as we get 50 more sales, we're good.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
that's 100% how it is. Have the exact same experience. But they both have their benefits. In one, you're speaking to the one who decides, right? There's more hassle, but he or she also has a full control in what you can do or not. The other one, you're probably speaking to a middle boss, right? So it's always like they be like, oh, it's really sorry. It's always like they be like, oh, it's really, really good. And then 1 week later they'll be like, oh, we're not happy. Like, what changed? Because then they heard something from their boss, right? So it's like, that's like the biggest difference I feel. But when it comes to budget, I just have to say, like, one thing I learned as well is like, the problem is if a client can pay, let's say 10K a month or whatever, but you offer 5, I mean, it's good for them, but they're also losing out on quality you could have given, right? So since marketing is so broad, I've also made it like by the end of my agency, before I stepped down, I've never given on a suggestion on budget. I always tell them that social media, I can do things for 500K a month. I can do things for 5K a month, right? It's so broad. So for me to spend a lot of time planning and coming up with a strategy or whatever, and then you're like, oh, it's too expensive, it's wasting my time. It's wasting your time. It's wasting everyone's time, right? So it's better to, like, if you can tell me like approximately how much you're willing to invest per month over this kind of period or whatever, and also tell me your expectations. So you tell me like,
nice.
Okay, I could probably spend 3K a month, but then I would need to at least have this amount of videos or this reach or so many sales or whatever, right? You get that, and you'll be like, okay, I take this to the team and be like, okay, this is the company, this is the budget, this is their expectations. Can we even do things? Is it even possible? Is it too much? Is it too little, right? And then we go back with a suggestion, and they can say yes or no. And I've done this. And, sometimes I've proposed a solution that's way cheaper than he said, the budget. And sometimes, I said, we can't do it. It's not for us. And that way, we have like a success rate guarantee because we know that, okay, we're not taking on a client that doesn't have the resources. We're not taking on a client that is going to freak out after a month or something like that because we didn't understand the expectations.
That's a genius thing. I think, it's very useful to be able to understand what the client is actually envisioning, because a lot of the times, like, we have, clients in Namibia where they want to spend $2,000 a month, $5,000 a month, the small businesses, and then Namibian dollars, and that's really little, right? But then they want you to bring them hundreds of thousands in sales, and so you're like, come on.
You have to manage expectations. I mean, that's the whole thing. You have to manage expectations, and sometimes it's just. I think the best thing an agency can do is to say no to a client. That's the best thing. Like, I've said no to more clients than I've said yes, because you need to, like, it's for your team. It's for, like, because if you start giving your team clients with too high expectations and low budgets and whatever, you're gonna stress your team out, right? So that's your number one asset is your team. And how they are feeling, if they have enough time to be creative and all that, all like that, right? So it feels like wrong to say no to money, but sometimes you have to say no. I've actually also noticed that when I say no, some clients they were like, "What do you mean no?"
Well, I have money. What do you mean?
Like how much? Okay, maybe if I add, they start adding money, because then they'd be like they want what they can't have, right? But I always like for me, but everyone is different. But for me, it's like if I don't trust the product, if I don't like everything, if the expectations are too high, I know I'm just gonna get a headache from it. So it's not worth it, right? So it's and then I might not be able to deliver what they want, and they've wasted money. I know a lot of agencies be like, oh, but we made 5K, right? But it's just long term. You want long term clients in order to succeed, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Let's talk a little bit about AI. I mean, you're doing this tour now in Africa that you funded out of pocket. Firstly, I want to know, how much have you spent on this trip? Because you've been to now, or all in all, it's going to be what, 11 countries?
Yeah, so we're doing like 2 laps, right? So the first lap, it's gonna be it's Zimbabwe, Namibia, Botswana, and South Africa, right? And then the second lap, it's not fully set all the countries up, but it's gonna be like Nigeria, Kenya, Ivory Coast, and like countries like that, right? Tanzania and stuff. But it's not cheap. It's so far, but I think
How much have you spent on this?
the first lap is probably around like 40K.
40K.
Yeah, give and take.
Okay.
USD.
Yeah, that's hefty.
It's hefty, yeah.
Yeah.
It
And
is.
you have to travel with your videographer everywhere.
I have my videographer.
You have to feed him.
He's from Latvia as well, so there's extra cost for visa and stuff.
He looks like he eats a lot, does he?
No. But and I also have my tour coordinator, Zaina from Jitamani, Africa, in Kenya. She's traveling along with us as well. So it's a tight team. It's only 3 people. Right?
Yeah. But still, it's like a 40K on a monthly, because you do everything in 1 month, right?
Yeah, so
Roundabout.
this one is like 3.5 weeks or something like that.
Yeah. So yeah.
So yeah, but we're hoping, like, this is the first lap, so we're also learning a lot.
Yeah,
So
we're meeting nations.
Yeah, and we're hoping like we get more efficient for the second lap, but also get more sponsors, something like that. We received a couple of sponsors, so it's covered maybe like, I don't know, like 5-6K or something.
Yeah.
So it's covered a little bit, but I think we're gonna be fine.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think it's an impressive thing you're doing, and from my side, I think it means a lot. It means a lot. I think I think in the what you say, in the realm of space or something like that, you've made a dent. Yeah.
That's the only thing I want. Like this, I tell people I get paid in positive impact, and that love is the new money for me. I felt like I've had a couple of years of very great success, and now that it's unbalanced, so I just want to try to balance by giving back a little bit. I think that's the way of life, and if we don't do that, we start spiraling. So I think this is just the era I'm in right now, to try to give back.
Yeah. Can you see yourself working in Africa now more often? Because I think from my side, I think Africa in general is growing. I mean, lots of opportunities. We do a lot of research, and we've noticed that, Africa has this ability of just doing big jumps because we follow the rest of the world. So sometimes, like we might not have a MacBook or whatever today, but in 2 years, we skip the latest MacBook, and all of a sudden we have the latest item in the marketplace.
I'm definitely, like, this is one of the reasons I started there as well. I'm certain that Africa is gonna be like probably like the top continent within like 10 years.
Really?
I think so. If they play the cards right with AI, because I think your disadvantages, like, when I said that my biggest weakness was my biggest strength, right? The disadvantages that you have locally is your biggest strength globally.
Yeah. What are some of those things?
Like like what's on average monthly salary here?
In Namibia?
Yeah.
I know the minimum wage is about 2,500 Namibian dollars, 3,000.
How much is that in USD?
150.
150
Less than 150, yeah.
So like that's a disadvantage, right? But it becomes your greatest asset in a global world, because everything you can do with AI, you can do it globally, right?
Yeah.
So if you reach out to someone like me, and you tell them like, hey, you're doing a podcast, I can cut your videos and I can edit it and I can do that, and I'll do that for $50 per episode, right? $50 for someone in Europe who's like an average salary might be like 4K. It's like, yeah, whatever, $50, yeah, just do it, right? Try it, even if only like 2 videos are good, like it's gonna be worth $50 for me, right? You get 10 clients like that, you have $500.
Crazy. Let's put it down, Dini. This is our new business plan.
Yeah, but you hear what I say. Like, that's what I mean. That's why your biggest disadvantage becomes your incredible asset in a competitive world.
Yeah.
Because Europe and like the US is built on what I call artificial privilege.
Yeah.
It's like this privilege of like, oh, I need to have this money to do this or that, or I need you need to go to Harvard to be respected, or I have read this book or whatever. But the world of AI democratizes knowledge, right? AI makes intelligence or knowledge accessible for anyone. There was a guy here was setting up earlier. He said that everything he's learned about video editing and stuff like that, he learned it from AI.
Yeah,
right?
same here. Yeah, same here. Same.
So that's what I'm saying. Like it just makes everything accessible. So anyone, as long as you have access to like a computer or a phone and internet, that's all you need.
Yeah.
And you need to have some literacy, right? I mean, and Namibia has one of the highest literacy rates in Africa. I think it's like 91%, right? So, and I learned that from ChatGPT. So I mean, the possibilities is in the hands of this continent, but no one is coming here and talking about it.
Yeah.
No, this is the reason I'm doing this tour, because these areas are overlooked. Like I'm only getting invited to the biggest stages, like in London or in France or in US, wherever, and that's great and all. But you go there and everyone's like, wow, whatever, because I'm so good, right? But no, but everybody's like excited, and then you go back next year and you're like, hi guys, have you implemented it? It's like, no, we didn't have time.
Yeah. Talk about it again.
What do you mean you didn't have time? Haven't you watched the latest Squid Games? Yeah. So you do have time to watch a like whole TV show on Netflix, right? Yeah, but it's also it costs money and stuff like that. The pro version. But you still have Netflix, right? Like so it's but we're so privileged because if I stand on stage and I teach them, you do this and that with these tools, you could easily make like 1,000 euro per month or USD, right? For them, it's like it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's just too much time to spend, because you need to spend a lot of time on it for only 1K. When my job right now is giving me 4K, right?
Yeah.
But I tell someone here, what do you think the reaction would be?
Yeah, people fly from here to go to the US, to Europe, to go make 1,000 euros, 1,000 US.
You don't need to do that. You can live here and do these things with AI. You only need to have like a resilience, a grit, and like a passion, and time. And that's Africa is a continent. I don't want to speak about like whole Africa as like a unison in a way, right? But it's very community driven in general, right? I guess there could be some countries that are not, but it's in general, it's a very community. If you compare it to like it's more of a collective. If you compare it to Europe, we are very individualistic, right? We only think about ourselves. Here, people fighting together, right?
Yeah.
And that's a power. You gather 20 people that can harness the power of AI, and you sit together as a community and build things and do things, that's nothing we can do over there.
Yeah.
20 people, that's going to cost us, it's going to cost us, 4K a month per person, and then taxes, and then everything on that. It's just, if I employ someone, one of my employees, if I employ them, I give them $3,000 as a salary. It costs me like 5,500 with taxes and everything.
Yeah.
So for every employee, it's almost like the double cost of their salary, right? So, for me to hire 20 people, and yes, let's harness AI, I'm bankrupt within a week, bro. Like, but this, so yeah, that's
Yeah.
we need more people to go around and talk about it.
Yeah, this is impressive stuff. I think I'm going to implement it for sure. What I would definitely also would like to know is, so what are the people, when they build businesses, they always talk about systems and all that. So what are some systems you've put in place that with AI yourself that have helped you, get to this point where you're able to move out of the business and have someone else replace you as a CEO? Because that takes a lot of work as well to be able to get to that position where you can have a business that can still function without you. I think one thing, I don't know where I listened to this, but it said the true measure of an entrepreneur is if you can leave your business for 3 months in a row and come back and everything is still intact. So
we're still on month 2 here, so that's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
But I think I wouldn't. I'm gonna give you an old school answer here, because it's not because of AI. Like, it's not any like system we've implemented in order to do that. Because like in as I said, in Europe, we're still very like privileged in our expectations, right? So a lot of clients, like we if we suggest AI to them, and they're like, oh, it's not good enough. Like, we expect like top tier level of thing. Like, it's just a whole kind of different, because they also pay a lot of money, right? So we haven't like we don't really we implement it just in like when it comes to like research, when it comes to generating idea, like having a sparring partner, someone to talk to and brainstorm with. That's how we use it a lot, and then to like be more efficient in editing and stuff. The reason I've been able to that, like I've been lucky. I've been so lucky. Found that this new CEO has been working at Brightmind for almost like since the day one, right? And she's just so good. Like, she's like the last year, like a whole year, she's basically been the CEO, but she didn't even know it. She didn't know it. Like, so I was just, can you do the salaries and stuff like that? Can you have the conversations with all the employees about their new salaries? Can you do it? Like, she was like, yeah, because she's like the head of projects, right? So she's always been like the spider in the eyes, right? And then like I was like, you know what? Can you be the CEO?
They do me this.
So she's like, what? I don't even know what it means. Like, how can I do that? And I don't know what task am I doing? Like, no, same things. Like, she's like, oh yeah, that's true. I've been doing that, right? So like I've been super lucky to have found her, like, and that's and she was up for it. And the team is doing great. They're like, I think a lot of entrepreneurs are just only afraid as well. Like, they think that, oh, if I leave because I'm so special, or whatever, right? I'm good at what I do, right? My asset is my brain. Like, I'm very creative in my way of thinking and planning and doing things, but my team is great as hell, right? So like I've seen the things they've done now since I've left. Sometimes I can scroll on TikTok and say, like, oh, nice, is that my ad? Like, is that our ad, right? And I'd be like, and no one sent that to me. No one asked me of my opinion. It's good, right? So I get impressed by the agency that used to be mine, right? I still own a bit of it, but I'm not working there. So no, they're doing great.
Yeah. And what's the biggest lesson you've learned from training a team to be efficient without you being there? Yeah.
I think the biggest lesson I've learned is to not be afraid of letting go, right? Just trusting, because it's easy, in the beginning to be a bit micromanagement and stuff like that. Trusting and knowing your weaknesses. I talk a lot about weaknesses. That know your weakness and make it your strength. Like, my weaknesses when it comes to like leadership. Because I do feel like I'm a really good leader in some points, and then I'm an awful leader in others, right? Like everyone, right? And I think I've defined it like, I think there's like two different type of leaders. Either you're like a war leader or you're a peace leader. And I feel like I'm a war leader. Like when things are burning, when there's fires everywhere, and you need to grow a team, you grow the agency, and like nothing is working, and the walls are falling, and like, and I'll stand there and I guard everything, and I just fix, and I can work like 400 hours a day, even if that does exist, right? I make those hours happen, right? Like that's what I like, to be like in the fire, right? And do that difference. When the agency is going good, like it's been like the last 2 years, like it's just flowing, like everyone knows what to do, everything is working, we're getting clients. I'd be like, I don't know, because I'm then I become a very bad leader. Then I start micromanaging things, and be like, maybe we should do that, and just try to create problems. Like I'd be like, oh, let's open a new agency, let's do this, let's do that, just because we need action, like because I need to have the pulse high, right? And that's where like Ida, like the new CEO, comes in perfectly, because she's an amazing peace leader, right? So when things are flowing, like she's been structuring everything, she keeps everything in control, because I can't handle structure, right? So that's why I like war, because like then I don't like war. That's what I'd like when things are not properly functioning, because then it's not not everyone is not looking around for the luxury commodities. They're like, oh, but what about this? What about that time? They don't have time to focus on that. They just do, right? But when we're at peace, then we start becoming comfortable. And things like that, I'm like, who cares about that, right? That's where she comes in.
Now, I have two questions that come to mind immediately when I hear you speak. The first thing I want to know is, what was your childhood like? Did you have a chaotic childhood?
Chaotic? I wouldn't say that. My parents were refugees. They're from Syria and Lebanon, coming to Sweden. I was born in Sweden, and I mean, we weren't, because of that. We weren't rich. We had very low resources. We lived in a village where like it wasn't many foreigners, right? And there were like situations because of that. I wouldn't say it was chaotic, but I would say that it made me feel like I always had to work harder to prove to like Swedish people that I'm equally good, right? So like for someone, I always felt like for a Swedish person to do, if they only did like a minimum effort, they got praised. And if I cured cancer, then they were like, yeah, I mean, you're good enough, right? So it's always been harder for me to get invited to meetings, get invited to things, because I wasn't playing golf with their fathers, brothers. I didn't have all that, right? So maybe that's the chaotic part, that I always felt like I always had to work 5 times harder in order. But I'm not mad at that, because that's why I'm here now, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's a good thing that comes out of it, sometimes.
so my childhood, I was like, I hated them.
Yeah.
I hated all the races. I hated all everything I've been through. But now I'm so grateful for that, because without them, I wouldn't be me, right?
Yeah, it's so interesting how sometimes our favorite things about ourselves come from our darkest parts as well. So yeah, it's a weird thing. But another thing I want to ask you now is, how has dating been for you? Are you
Dating?
dating? Yes.
Yeah,
Just not being an entrepreneur.
I'm happily married.
Oh,
nice. Yeah. So I actually met my wife. We went to school together.
Yeah.
And so I met her when I was 17. We've been together ever since. I have 2 kids. And I mean, it's had its ups and downs. I'm not gonna lie. Like we had our moments where I was so head deep into the business and everything, and we were like, okay, this is not gonna work out and stuff like that. But she's so strong, and like none of this would be possible without her. Like she's home with the kids now, right, and taking care of them while I'm here trying to help people, right?
Yeah.
She has a very like we are very different in our ways, like totally opposites. But our values are the same, right? So she's totally not an entrepreneur. Like she's nothing like with this marketing and stuff like that. She works in like the health, like a hospital, hospital, but she's an occupational therapist, right?
Yeah.
So our hustle is completely different,
Uh-huh.
but our values is the same. So we both care a lot about other people. We both care about like the underdogs and stuff like that. So she loves the whole idea of this, right? So yeah, no, she's amazing.
Yeah. Was it?
And I do think I have to just add to that. I do think like that's the best partnership you can get. Like, because if you think about a puzzle, right? It's the 2 opposite pieces that fit together, but they have the same picture,
Yeah.
right? So you have the same values, but you're opposite in your personalities.
Yeah.
That's how that for me, that's what I think works best long term. Same as my business partner, the one I created my business with. We have the exact same values. I say I want to do it like this, and he's like, "Yo, go, man! This is great, right?"
Yeah.
But he is super tech. Everything that has with tech, he's like a super nerd with that. And I'm the least tech person that exists. It is still I talk about AI, because now AI is not about tech anymore, right? But he's like, I can't even install my TV, right? Okay, he comes home to me and fix it, right?
Yeah.
He's the most tech guy that exists. I'm the most, like, when it comes to creative philosophy, psychology kind of person, right? So we total opposites, but same values when it comes to like business and life and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that's actually a very good analogy when you say it like that, because I think I don't know if I'm very good at finding people, but when you take it from because sometimes when we look for people, we try to look for the exact same as us, right? Yeah.
But that's the problem, because
Yeah.
when you look for people like yourself,
Yeah.
that's also when you start, because you always those people you always get in conflict with and you fight with,
Yeah.
because you're fighting with yourself, right? Because you're like, because then you compare them to you,
Yeah.
and because you have so high set standards for yourself. I'm guessing that's what I have for myself, and like everyone that because I used to have like people that are like me, right? I try to find them, but then they're like, they're never equally good as me, right? I was like, they don't work as hard as me. They don't, like, why are you not doing that? I keep comparing them to myself. And you shouldn't do that. Like, so I don't. I have no success in hiring people that are exactly like me. It always turns out messier. Right?
Yeah, interesting. Because sometimes I'll have someone like on the team, right? And then it's a person that likes to sit around and really have fun with other people, and I'm trying to make them into me like, no, we need to be working.
No,
businesses started at 8 and finish at 5. Yeah.
Never make it into you, bro.
Yeah.
Never do that, because like you already exist,
Mm.
right? You already exist and you serve a purpose. You make them into you, then you're not needed, right? Like, you already exist. You need other skills. You need other personalities. You feel like that person who's in the office, who's just joking around all the time or whatever. You think like, oh, that's not needed. You move that person away, the whole team morale might drop, right? That person is what's keeping everyone excited to go to work.
Yeah.
Perhaps, right? So like everyone is needed in their own sense of way. But I do feel like, because what you're saying right now, this was like me in the beginning. I was like, come on, guys, work harder. We have to do this. We have to do that. We have to do that.
Why are you eating?
Like, yeah. I have to remind myself sometimes, like, as well as like, oh, yeah, sure, I get it. Like, you need that rest or whatever. Because I'm a very hectic guy.
Yeah, right.
But it's not possible to put your own expectations on someone else. Like,
Yeah.
if I can give you anything, that's my number one thing. That don't do that, man.
Yeah, that really means a lot, actually, because it's something I definitely do need. And yeah, was there ever a point where you thought maybe because of the business you would have to give up on your marriage, your wife now, or did you ever experience anything like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did, actually.
When was this?
Well,
When was this?
this was like 5 years ago now. 5, 6 years ago. This was the thing you mentioned in the beginning, like when I was going through things. You said health issues, but it wasn't really health. It was health, because I was kind of depressed. I was stressed out. I was, I was going through the walls. We burnt out, right? Because of my business. I was just awful. I was awful at everything. Nothing I did was good. I was a bad husband, bad everything, right? I was hating myself. I didn't love anything about me. And I had this. I honestly didn't want to live, right? At that point, I didn't. I was like, this life not worth it, right? Let's go to the next one, right? And I had a meeting with Facebook in Dublin, and I was like, no, I'm going there, and I'm not coming back. I'm buying no return tickets. I brought like a phone with no internet. I was like, no one is getting my number. I'm just gonna be with myself until I either love myself or kill myself, right? It's dark, but that's how it was. And my wife was like, you know what, you do that, and you don't have to come back until you feel good. It's like, that's how bad it was, right? But it turned out good. I was hitchhiking through Europe. I hitchhiked through like, I don't know, like 5, 6, 7 countries, something like that. No, it was, and by the end of that, it was amazing. Like, I started loving myself. I spent so much time with myself in my own head, talking to myself, and I realized that, damn, this guy's good, right? But this is not about me. It's like, if you spend time with yourself instead of always listening to a podcast or a song or a phone call or whatever, you will realize that, damn, like I'm actually kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
And I started journaling and stuff like that. But then, so I was at my toughest peak, right? And just a long story short, it ended with like a very fatal car accident. So the guy was driving, he crashed, and he didn't make it. I luckily woke up in a hospital with like 0 wounds, no wounds, nothing broken, nothing. Like I was 20 centimeters away from dying.
Yeah.
And that just changed my whole life. He said, like, did anything change your perspective? I said, not a business one, but this one. This is the one. This is just changed everything. From that day, I decided I want to spend my life having as big of a positive impact I can. The things like I'm doing right now, right? I decided like I want to have a positive impact on at least like 1% of humanity before I die. And I decided that I would never spend a day where I don't make him proud. Like if he's like watching in any way, like, and he's like, why is this guy wasting his life just watching Netflix? I don't like, I can watch Netflix, but I just want like him to feel like, or like anyone to feel like,
Yeah.
oh, it was okay. He's doing a good life. He's at least living like 2-3 lives at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the one thing.
Yeah. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. And
So I recommend that. Get in a car accident. It's a good. No, it's good in now.
man, I think that's actually a lot of, yeah, you've had to spend a lot of time doing a lot of thinking as well. So I want to ask now, I think something more for the audience.
Yeah.
Now you've built, what has the best year for Bright Mind Agency look like in terms of revenue? What
Best year?
Yeah, the best year up to date.
I think we had a year. I think it was like the last year. We made like 1.2 million or something.
That's
like that.
crazy.
Yeah. With I think like 300 or 400K profit or something. I don't remember exact numbers, but it was something like that. It was a great year. We worked with DJ Khaled.
Yeah, I saw that video. Yeah.
We did like it was so cool. We went, flying to Miami, just hanging with him and doing all that content and stuff. It was a good year. It was like a really, really good year. But I think but I'm hoping this year is gonna be better, right?
Yeah.
The team is excited. They're having a really good start of the year. We signed one of the biggest companies in Sweden. Like they did that. So
Which one is that?
what? So it's a I don't know when this podcast come out. I don't know if I can mention it yet.
Oh,
but it's a big Swedish company.
that's
Probably haven't heard about it. But but it's really cool.
yeah. Because I want to ask now. So I'm starting from zero, from scratch. I'm watching this video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's roll it out in a bit. But I'm watching from scratch, right? I want to build also an agency, an AI agency, starting from zero.
Yeah.
And I want to get to, let's say, 10,000 a month,
Yeah.
10,000 US a month. What are some tips you would give to someone starting out scratch from AI? Please close your ears, guys, so we don't have competition.
Yeah. No, nobody listen here.
Yeah.
No one in the podcast listen. No, I would say like yes, learn these AI tools. Like there's so few people that are doing it. Like I'm here talking to people, right? And whenever I ask like how many here has been generating an image with AI, there's one hand in there, right?
Yeah.
How many has done made a music? There's no hands. How many has made that? There's no hands, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, there's so few people, and even when I'm in Sweden or wherever, there's maybe 20% are raising the hands. So it's still so new, which means that if you spend your time now, 3-4 hours a day, wake 2 hours earlier and spend 3-4 hours a day and just use ChatGPT or use these different things and become the best. I promise you, by the end of the year, you're not only gonna be like the one in Namibia that's best when it comes to AI, because that you will be that within like a month or two if you spend so much time. But you will be in the world. You'll be like probably top 20% if you spend so much time, because people are not consistently spending that time. So I would say spend that time, find the tools. My favorite tools to make quick money right now is a tool called Captions that helps you make like AI ads. So you just post any link for any e-commerce in the world, and they create like AI avatars that looks exactly like me and you, and they say like, oh, have you seen this new product? You have to find it right now. Visit this website.
Captions.
Yeah, it's called Captions. $10 a month, right? And you can put like any link from any e-commerce all around the world. You put that in, and it creates AI avatars like that looks exactly like me and you, like humans, right?
Graphics.
Yeah, graphics. It's humans. Like it's not animated or anything. It's humans that are, and they're talking about the product, and they'd be like, hey, check this product out from this website. Click here, scroll here, do that. And if you see that on TikTok, you would never say that, oh, this is a AI. It's impossible to see that. That right there, I swear, if you reach out to 500 e-commerce all around the world, and you'll be like, hey, I'm from Zimbabwe, I can do these ads for you. I'll do that for $50, right? Because you tell them, be straight up, because $50 for us is a lot or whatever. And because then they'd be like, oh, that's why it's cheap, right? Because otherwise they'd be afraid. So they'd be like, oh, that's why it's cheap. You do that, you get 10 clients for $500, right, just off the bat. And all you have to do is just put the link in, because they don't know about these. But of course, like, you also tweak it with your expertise. You tweak it, you make some edits and stuff like that. So it's not only 100% AI, right? But that's just saves so much time. Opus Clip. Opus Clip is a platform where you just upload this podcast right here that we're recording. You put this, and the whole 60-minute video, you put that in, and it cuts it down to like 20, 60-second videos. And you can post it on social, right? Which means that you can reach out to any podcast in the world and be like, hey, I can be your editor. For every episode, I give you 10 episodes, 10 clips for your TikTok and Instagram. And all you need to pay me is $2 per video, right? And that's $20. You have 10 podcasts you work with, that's $200. So like I think it's AI is a quantity game, right? So you do that, you reach out to podcasts, you reach out to public speakers, you can send me the videos of you on the stage, I'll cut it down. You can reach out to, and you have to be creative. Like, so those two platforms, really, really good. Third platform is a platform called Flux AI, FLUX AI. Basically, it's an image generator you can train on any data. So you have a product, a lotion or a drink or anything. You take pictures in different angles, like 40, 50 pictures. And then you train it on that data. You train it on that data, and you train it on that data, and then you can generate that picture anywhere. So you can be like, I want this lotion on a beach. I want this on a table. I want this so you can, it's an image generator. I have that for me. I've trained it on me, and like I said, I want a Morad sitting on a horse, and it does that. And it's really, really good. Like a lot of the things if you've seen on my Instagram is AI generated.
Really?
Yeah. The videos of me, the videos of me when I'm sitting and there's like a blue kind of studio background and I'm talking like this and stuff like that is AI. You wouldn't tell.
That's crazy.
And finally, since we're just giving like tips and tricks, music. There's an app called Suno AI. I promise you, whatever you believe, like if you think, okay, it's probably this good, it's 10 times better than you think. It writes lyrics, creates music and everything. So anyone here can be a DJ Khaled, right? You can be him. You can produce beats. You'll be like, I'm selling this for $5. Contact rappers or whatever, right? You can produce jingles to companies, so songs to companies. Like we made a song specifically about your company, right? You can sell that. You can actually, if you have the pro version, you have all the rights. So you can also upload it on Spotify. So you can upload like 100 songs a month on Spotify and just get 100 streams, 200 streams or whatever.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy what AI is doing.
Yeah, and that's just now. So it's it's getting started, and within a year, I mean, it's just gonna go better and better. Right?
Yeah, this week already we're gonna be reaching out overseas, and I think the only thing to work on is the payment plan. But that's a story for another day. So I will ask you now as we end off the podcast. It's been great having you here. Lovely. I'm learning lots of things. But I do want to ask now, so if you had to leave a message, right? You're doing this tour in Africa. There is a reason behind that. You said love is the new currency for you.
Yeah.
And but what's the message? If you were to die tomorrow, what do you want people to remember you for? What's the message that's pushing you currently? What's your mission?
I don't think I have like the need of being remembered in that way, because I feel like that's people are gonna forget about me either way. Like there's been way greater people than me that people just forgot about, right? So I'm not doing this for any way. I'm not for any like external love in that way. So if you now listen to this and you will become like the person that just ignites Namibia when it comes to AI, right? And everyone here will be like, oh, it's thanks to Ignatius because he did that and that and that and whatever. But you did that because of this inspiration or whatever. I mean, that's enough for me knowing that. But I would never care about you be like, oh, it's thanks to Alexander or whatever. Look, you take that. I want you to be empowered here. Like I want anyone I'm here with. I want to empower the locals. So So I don't feel like I need to be remembered that way. But the only message I want to send out to people is like, you need to get on AI right now. You need, because it's inevitable.
Yeah.
It is inevitable, and because AI will not take your job, but someone who knows AI will. So you need to be that one who knows it. It's the same thing with anything. Someone, Excel didn't take your job, but someone who knew it. Photoshop didn't take your job, but someone who knew it. I saw all the old cameras that you guys have.
Yeah.
The new cameras didn't take anyone's job, but someone who knew how to use the new camera took their job, right?
Yeah.
So AI will not take your job. Or you know what? AI will take your job to the next level.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So you just need to like get on it. That's my message.
Perfect. I think that's a great spot to end. I want to say thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you.
This has been an interesting podcast. Yeah, definitely getting my AI game on.
Yeah, that's
And
great. Forward to that.
yeah, I'm excited to the future.
You know what I want to say though?
Yeah.
I want to say that to everyone listening or watching this.
Yeah.
Like, if you're actually listening to this, or you went to one of my events and you started using AI, like you're saying, I'm gonna use it wherever. Please, like, the best way you can empower me is not about like, oh, I felt like this whatever happened, but it's send me a DM on Instagram or whatever and tell me that, hey, I did it and I made $500. I did it and it changed my life. I did it and I became more efficient. Like, someone wrote to me, like, from Zimbabwe, and they commented on one of my videos, and like, we started implementing it and we already got a new clients because of it. And they wrote that. That's like
Impressive.
That's 3 days ago.
Yeah.
That's 3 days ago. I had that presentation, and he wrote it today, right?
Yeah.
And I read that, and it just made my whole day.
That's nice.
So like, let me know if it works out.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.